Hello and welcome to this episode of Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Nick, and today we are talking about festive stress, how to keep your holidays magical. For resources and show notes, you can find them at illuminationacademy.net/INK136. And now let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Hello.
Hello.
It's that time of year.
It is that time of year.
We're recording right before Thanksgiving.
Are you a Christmas music kind of gal?
It's already set in the car.
Is it really?
I did it yesterday.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it around the house. You don't usually listen to music around the house.
I know.
Though.
I think we could have more music around the house because we do. We have ohms playing continuously.
we do. Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the music I like to listen to is a little agitating to you.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah. So.
But we could do holiday music.
We could totally do holiday music.
We got to take one of our little Bose things to New York so we can have holiday music.
I personally, I like the traditional stuff, but I really enjoy like jazzy holiday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Is that okay with you?
Some of it's okay.
What are you into?
I don't know. I like it when it's in the car. It reminds me of my dad, because he'd turn it on when he was driving his car, like in the holidays, and I had it on. I was like, I'm thinking of my dad.
Yeah. And it's funny that comes up right off the bat is I think that's one of the interesting things around the holidays that can be stressful for people is these are family times or times that you would have spent with people who were closest to you. And some of those folks are no longer with us or things have transitioned in our life in a way that it's just not the same as it used to be. And that I think that can start to bring things up for people just to right out of the box.
Yeah. It's like we lose our footing on the holidays. We're out of balance. Kind of like trying to navigate, well, what's it going to look like this year? Dad's not around, mom's not around, so-and-so's traveling. There's a whole bunch of things that play a part. And all of a sudden, when we imagine the holiday table, whether it's Hanukkah, Christmas, any holiday, it's like, it looks different.
Yeah.
And then we get a little worried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a little sad, which is okay. I think it's okay to be sad.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the holidays as a musician for me, this was always a particularly kind of fun, but also stressful time of year. There are more gigs. I'm playing a lot of gigs. I remember the very first time I had a full on like panic attack, tears and all was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Jeez. It's been a long time. But it happened during the holiday season.
Oh.
And it was just everything started to pile up on me all at once. And I just remember, I was sitting in my office at the Detroit Symphony, and we had a bunch of auditions coming up in the new year. I had all these gigs and a ton of different music to prepare and all this different stuff moving in a million different directions. And I was like trying to make order of it in my head and I just couldn't. And I literally just got up. The orchestra was rehearsing. So my boss wasn't in the same office. He was down on stage. And I just got up and I closed the door and I locked it and I sat down in my chair and I started to cry.
Aww.
And it was just like, oh man. Like
had to get it out.
I didn't know like what a real panic attack was like, but I really just felt paralyzed.
Right.
And it was like, after that happened, I got on the phone. I called my dad. So I was like, okay, well, like, I don't know who else to call. So I'm just going to call my dad. I figured he did. He talked me off the ledge and kind of got me back into what I could do and everything like that. But I remember, and it's something that always stuck with me, was how fragile I felt after that panic attack for weeks.
I understand. I mean, it really does a number on the energetic field and the mental stress and emotional stress.
It was
and many people go through this, of course.
Yeah. It just felt like, wow, I have a pretty good life. And I didn't know how close I was at the time to just really breaking down in some ways that I just had never seen. And I just felt really fragile, really vulnerable from it. And it's just something that I always remembered with me and something I bring with me into every holiday season since then. And this is years ago. This is probably easily 15 years ago.
Yeah. And you can still feel it, right? When you go back. Mm-hmm.
And when I look around at people at this time of year, I can see it on them.
We can see it. We can feel it. We can feel it in ourselves. We can feel it in other people. You know, it's really interesting. The Harvard Medical School had a little research on holiday stress. And, you know, they state that the holidays are filled with both joy and stress. We know that. Like, that's a true story. However, 62% of respondents of their study described their stress level as very or somewhat elevated during the holidays, while only 10% reported no stress during the season. I'd like to know that 10%.
Yeah.
Among the holiday stressors listed by respondents were the financial demands of the season. Yeah. Understand that. Negotiating the interpersonal dynamics of family. And I think that's on a rise because we have so many mixed families.
Yeah.
And maintaining personal health habits and exercise. In other words, not going to the holiday party and downing 3 martinis when you usually don't drink that much.
Wait, say that last part one more time.
Maintaining personal health habits.
Yeah. Okay.
And the interpersonal family relationships.
Yeah, okay, I can totally see
and
that.
I think that's, so it's sort of they all layer in circle, right? It's like, okay, say you're relatively happy. We're not saying don't drink, but I think what happens is when the other stress is the worry of shopping or the financial obligations, or you have a mixed, a family that has 5 sets of in-laws. I don't know, like everyone's supposed to try and see each other and you get stressed and all of a sudden you're at the office party. You're like, I think I'm just going to have 2 more drinks or it builds up.
Yeah.
And festive stress becomes very real.
Yeah. And so it really becomes kind of a vicious cycle of all of those things.
Exactly.
I can totally see that happening. It's even if it's just as simple as, mom and dad are divorced and like now kids are spending time with this side of the family and then that side of the family. And it's like, and that's a pretty common thing. Or just, you're, the extended family and going and then,
exactly.
and then talking to those folks that you maybe talk to once a year and that let's be honest about it. Many times in your regular life, like you would never otherwise hang out with those folks.
You might never hang out with Aunt Darlene, who happens to drink a lot every Thanksgiving or every whatever holiday and starts to tip the whole entire family upside down. Like, let's face it, it does happen. And here's another really interesting study from the New York Post. This one just cracked me up in a way. It said, for anyone feeling less than on top of things, the turning point Santa would not be happy with this. Santa is, I'm sure, not happy. The turning point, because I'm a believer, the turning point from mild to severe stress comes on December 18th. So everyone, take your mental health day. Let's just put it in your calendar right now, December 18th. And it peaks on Christmas Day at 2:05 p.m.
2:05 p.m.
2:05 p.m.
That's
not
very
1:30,
precise.
not very precise. I was like, wow. And I guess a lot of people are sitting down to dinner at that time.
That would be about the time.
And it peaks at that time.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? So let's kind of peel the layers around because this is not why we have the holiday season to create an enormous amount of festive stress. We want it to be magical. We want it to be festive. And I think sometimes what happens is it's like you were saying when we were putting together some notes for this podcast, Nick, you're like, we know what to do.
Yeah.
We know what we need to do to stay healthy, to stay centered, to be happy. The thing is, are we going to do it?
Right. And I think that's a good place to start is really start right at the beginning with yourself. Right. And in my own experience, I'll just use myself as an example is little by little through the season, I would notice myself. Maybe an extra drink here. Staying up a little bit later.
More pumpkin pie.
A little extra dessert in those things. It's a little harder to get up in the morning. I'm not doing the things I know I need to be doing to keep myself healthy.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, a switch would flip in my head that would just be like, all right, all bets are off. You just do what you do, man. And you're gonna have a week between Christmas and New Year's that you'll be able to mostly recover. And kind of hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And that was really even before I understood the broader consequences of that in my life and in my business, right? Where things just kind of like what it winds up being for a lot of people is, okay, they hit Thanksgiving. Now we're into December, and all of a sudden it's like the year just starts to kind of come to a grinding halt. It's winding down rather than winding up into the new year. So then people hit the new year, they're really ready for their resolutions. Yeah. And they're going to, I'm going to take on the world. And then they're fired up for a minute, but they don't have any momentum behind them. And so they're really pushing that rock up the hill from start. And it creates this big old stop to the end of the year and a really excruciating start to the beginning of the year that sets up the same pattern that's been going again and again and again.
Yeah.
If we're going to have this conversation, I think the first and foremost is like, hey, rather than winding down, how about we wind up?
That's amazing, because to start from a place of depletion, a New Year's resolution is really tricky.
Yeah.
To sit down with family members that you may all or not agree on politics or religion or how we're all raising our kids, when we're in that realm from a state of depletion, it's tricky to handle.
Yeah.
So what is it that we can do to maintain a healthy perspective, healthy body, mind, spirit, and to enjoy? Because I'm not going to give up sugar over the holidays. Like I'm eating.
Never ask that.
I know. I know you wouldn't. And I know a lot of people, but I think it is. And I think it is that the one piece too many, the one drink too many. So it really comes to like that one too many where we've crossed the line.
Yeah.
And we're like, I've screwed up anyways. I might as well just go at it.
Yeah.
So I know there's a mindset shift to that. And I know there's an energetic shift to that.
I think it really comes down to, first and foremost, is like we said before, you probably already know the things that work for you, right? You know what you need to be doing in the morning to set your day straight and to get off on the right foot. You know what you need to be doing before you go to bed in order to make sure that you get a good night's sleep so that you can do that. All right. Let's not be unreasonable. It's the holiday season. Have fun. Like you should, like it's fun. It's a fun time of year. But really, I would say right now is pause yourself for a second and just consider what are the most powerful practices and things that you do to really set yourself straight. Maybe it's that morning study for you that you study something that's really meaningful to you. Maybe it's your exercise.
Right.
So, maybe it's something else, some kind of devotional practice, or maybe it's just a nice walk in the morning, right? Making time for that. Well, whatever that is for you, the thing, the big thing that moves the needle for you, make that non-negotiable.
I like that. And I would venture to say, even do more of it. Add on, like for me, I can already see I need time in the morning to either meditate, study, or both. I'm going to add on to what I'm already doing.
Yeah.
Just get up a little bit earlier, do more, anchor that in, start my day in that way.
Yeah. Because as the other parts of your life have another layer of complexity.
Right.
Well, let's make sure that this area becomes a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
To just do what you know you need to do and commit to that one thing rather than committing to 5 things.
Right.
You commit to that one thing that will move the needle for you, and then stay on that.
Yeah, I love that. So our listeners, just think about, is it exercise? Is it meditation? Is it conversation? Maybe like you're the person that you love to have a great conversation every day with someone. Is it a walk outside? What is that in that one? That one is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Because I think what can happen too with the stress, the festive stress, we tend to think, oh, well, I got to be at this, office party, or I'm supposed to spend time with the family, or I've got to do all this Christmas shopping or holiday shopping. The fact is, if we don't take care of us, all that other stuff gets layered in stress, and the whole thing is actually diminished.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people get sick during this time.
And a lot of people get sick, or they get in fights or whatever. So if you find that one thing and do that, that's awesome. I'm going to give a shout out to my dear friend, Anasuya. She loves the holidays, and she stopped over.
She's one of the 10%.
She's one of the 10%, probably has the elevated that I wanted to know. I just realized it's her. So she stopped by the office the other day, and she had the cutest Thanksgiving romper on. And she looked like super hot and amazing. And I was like, only you could pull that off. So if you're the person that's got to have the romper, or that do it. Like, just do it if that brings joy, because it's like, that's what we want, right? In the holidays, joy.
That's so funny.
I know. I just love it. So shout out.
I'm sorry,
hopefully she's listening.
I can't believe that. Is that on your Instagram?
I don't know, but we'll make sure we get photos. I'm sure she's going to have a Christmas one too. So that also takes me to the thought of then, in what way do we manage the people around us over the holidays? Because we know, I think all of us, except for that 10%, according to the New York Post, that happens to have no increase of stress at all. We know that it's like you light a match, it goes to a little piece of rope, and there can be fights, arguments, upsets, tears, crying, people, families like arguing. It doesn't need to be. Yeah. It really doesn't need to be. So if those of you that are listening, if there's one thing, you know, that you can do to kind of hold stay, it's sort of like hold the festive, right? Hold the festive line instead of getting caught up in any drama or trauma. For me, I think it's just like, don't take it personally.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's Aunt Darlene. She's had a couple of drinks. She's had a tough year, and she goes off on Aunt Betty. Stay out of it, not your gig.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having compassion first rather than taking it personally.
Yeah. This is where, just FYI, like, this is one of the big reasons that people tend to overindulge, because it's easier to just have another drink and to kind of check out, numb out, and slap a glassy smile on your face.
Right.
To watch it all go by.
I know.
Right. And that kind of works. And there's a price to pay for it.
There will be a price to pay.
So I couldn't agree with you more. For me, really, like that was a changed year. Like, something really shifted in me when I had that panic attack. And it's looking at people in a little bit gentler way.
Yeah. Kinder and gentler.
Yeah. It's
like Santa.
Like Santa. It's like a time of year for me to just look at folks and kind of see beyond the facade and to recognize that, man, like, I have no context for what's going on in your life right now. And you could be as close to breaking as anybody.
Exactly.
So I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to walk a little bit more lightly with folks.
Right.
And allow them a little bit more space. Like you just said, allow them a little bit more space to just be who they are and do what they do, and not take it personally. I love that you said that.
Not take it personally, not think that we got to fix it, because once we move in to try and fix whatever's going on, it all of a sudden becomes our stuff and our karma, and we don't need it. I like that. It's an approach of just like, okay, I'm going to sit here and breathe a little bit. I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to be like, okay, thanks for sharing. I hope you have a beautiful holiday. I'm going to go get dessert again.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, that gentler, kinder, not taking it personally.
Yeah. And it really does require that step back. You know, there's breath. You give yourself a moment to breathe and go back and listen to our last I don't know if it was the last podcast, but the one on forgiveness. I don't remember exactly what episode that was, but I was actually just
129. That was episode 129. INK 129.
And it really does it really breaks down that process a bit of, you know, what goes on through forgiveness and how to walk a little bit lighter through that. And I think that's important, because if nothing else, it's a season to be forgiving. Right. You forgive them for being who they are, which might not be what you want them to be, you know, which is really just basically forgiving ourselves for being so expecting and demanding in ways that, you know, is like really not reasonable for other people. So it gives space. Right. And I think that's what everybody needs.
That's great.
Bit of space.
Yeah. That's so much better than being frantic about holiday shopping, the whole thing.
Yeah. And that's a great example too, is you're walking through the stores, and you're surrounded by a bunch of strangers, and they're going through whatever they're going through. You can see that wild look in their eyes sometimes. And it's like, cool. Like,
cut the cords.
Yep. Cut the cords.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Smile. Get out.
Yeah. And I think, that your meditation pod.
Oh, the meditation pod is a really good thing. And there's a new bonus added in called Full Potential Focus.
Yeah. If you need a tool like that, those are some really great
Only
tools.
$27, guys. Well, it's kismaawake.com/meditation-pod. We'll make sure that's in the show notes too.
Yeah. That's a
Great
good
resource because that's where you can, I used to say in my yoga classes, stop, drop, and meditate in the middle of holiday season. But you really can. You can stop, you can drop everything, plug in for 10, 12 minutes, get some good frequency running through your system, and it's a reboot. And the moment that our human tips, our vehicle tips, it's trickier to manage the external world.
Yeah.
Which is why circling back around that one thing that you can do that keeps your boat upright, your ship upright, where you can choose to not take things personally. Mm-hmm. And meditate, whatever it is, midday, kind of reboot, repurpose. And the other thing I want to address, because I know it happens, is when people, I want to use the word blame us or we disappoint others. Because I think it happens, like you said, if there's families that are divorced, remarried, or in-laws, someone supposedly gets disappointed with us. We're not doing what they want. I think all we can do is say, I'm really doing the best I can, and give some attention to that person, yet don't let it stress you out. Avoid letting it ruin your holidays.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that the full potential is a part of that because it gives you the opportunity to just step in at your very best, right? And if you think about your very best, like your very best isn't going to be like resentful and vindictive, it's going to be stepping in with kindness, with a softness,
right,
and an ability also at the same time to stand in your, in your truth or in, what is true for you as far as like, we're not going to be able to do, like, we just can't make that dinner, or we can only be here for this amount of time. And it is what it is. We need to do the other thing.
Right.
So I'm sorry that you're disappointed, but this is where we're at.
Right.
So it has like an honest conversation that's more gentle.
And the more neutral, the easier it is.
Yeah.
The more we get triggered, the nastier it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it brings us to I think of an important part of this too is the financial stress.
Yeah.
That starts to pile up for people. And, Kisma, I know that you talk a lot about prosperity. What do you think about this whole pattern and how can people navigate that?
I love it because part of what we talk about in the prosperity code is that there is an unlimited supply. There's an unlimited supply. And if, again, we've just done a whole series on working with the law. So check those out. But I also know that true prosperity is about spending wisely. So if we dump a bunch of money on gifts just to kind of fulfill an obligation, it actually isn't quite a prosperous exchange. Buying something with intention is a prosperous exchange. And that often means that you can spend less. Like if people don't go to bookstores a lot anymore. And I think a really cool gift is when you go to a bookstore, pick out something that you think, I think this person's really going to love it. You write them a beautiful card, and that's a gift. That's a gift with intention. And it's so easy to get caught up in, I got to buy big. I got to do this. I got to do that. And before you know it, you've spent a bunch of money, but it hasn't had a purpose. It hasn't had this beautiful intention behind it.
Wow.
And I think that's when the prosperity goes upside down.
Yeah.
Now, if something you want to buy is expensive, but it's got that intention, that's a prosperous exchange. So just like anything, what's behind it? Is it fear? I got to show up? No. Like, I want this to be a heartfelt gift.
That's really good. I love that you brought that intention into it.
It's everything.
Yeah, that was something my family had kind of fallen off the wagon with that for a while. And with the gift and exchange and things, we're actually coming back to a place where we can, just really give with intention. And I'm super excited about that. Now, you brought up another really interesting point is where there is that kind of stress around what people are spending or what's going out. and they're spending from a place of stress and anxiety and fear.
Right.
So I'm wondering if
depletion.
can you talk a little bit more about like the energy behind that? It's a little different from the intention because it's the emotions that they're putting around it as well.
Well, anytime we approach, whether it's money, whether it's love, whatever we're looking at from fear and anxiety, it depletes the prosperity around it. So it's a depleting energy and mindset. And most things that we do out of fear and anxiety and worry really don't work out well. So it's, again, getting super clear what it is you want to do, what it is you want to give, and making sure that's in alignment. And then going from there and having this sense of like gratitude. Like, this is such a cool idea. Like, it's the holidays. I'm so grateful. Or universe, thank you for this prosperity. God, thank you for this prosperity. Like, avoid leaving out gratitude because that is essential. Just go back last week's episode, right? That builds all the prosperity.
It's kind of like, I'm so grateful that I'm able to give this gift.
Right. Whether it's a card or a book or an expensive piece, whatever it is, I'm grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful and giving freely. I think that's the thing is like it's just a free attitude of giving.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. I think, just in the broader scheme of things, I don't think it's cool necessarily that the holiday season becomes super materialistic.
I know.
However, now I do want to say though, I think it's a beautiful thing that attitude of giving creates great prosperity, for our economy in the whole.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think you can certainly look at it as, it's really, it's really capitalistic or materialistic or anything like that. Or you can look at it as like, wow, like this is what's possible when we really step into the spirit of giving.
Exactly.
And it generates an incredible amount of prosperity across the board.
I love it.
Which I think is cool.
I think it's super cool. Yeah. So festive stress, everyone, does not need to happen. Just to kind of loop it back around, make sure you do that pick one thing. If you're that kind of person that can get 3, awesome, good for you. But everyone, let's pick one thing that we know we absolutely are required to do and do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a time for hacks. It's
a
good season.
Yeah, it is a season for hacks.
Getting your hacks in, just because it's a little bit more chaotic. So the meditation pod is a great hack for that.
It really is.
And then like you already know. So just come back to what works. If you need some help with that, need some guidance, you can certainly drop us a line. We've got all kinds of ideas. info@sourcemovement.com and you can get a little bit more clarity on what might work for you. Be happy to help you with that.
And then the other thing, avoid taking things personally. And I like what you said, Nick, is like, be more gentle with people. Ugh. Give them some space.
Yeah.
I mean, if we all do that, Santa's going to be proud.
Santa would be proud.
Yeah.
Let's make Santa proud, everybody.
Thanks for being here. And from both of us, definitely a happy, healthy, wonderful holiday season.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.